was a madman. He killed members of his own family. He was crazy, but he knew how to build buildings, and he knew how to make impressive structures. And so the temple was one of those buildings that he established that was just a beauty. And so just imagine in Israel, I've never been. I'm only going off of how people describe it or what I've seen on pictures and videos. Just think sand, just think, semi-deserty area, and yet out in this dry area, up on the hill, you see something shining bright. The sun just reflecting almost like off of a mirror, and you just see the rays of the sun, blinding as you're heading your way up to Jerusalem. That was the temple. It was a beautiful place. It was a beautiful structure. Everything seemed to be going well here. Getting on the wall at him, right, seeing what sticks. They're trying to do everything. But the final accusation that sticks is that people say he was going to destroy the temple and rebuild it again. So this is the first time in the Gospel of Mark where Jesus makes this prediction. And this is a prediction. This is an example of prophecy. Prophecy is simply God speaking to us, to his people. Sometimes it is foretelling what is going to take place, right? This temple, which you see here, in a few years, it's going to be destroyed. God is saying something, a future event that is yet to take place. Sometimes prophecy is God declaring to us what is true. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind. You put away your idols. Take care of your family. Serve God with all your heart. That's not necessarily God speaking future events, but that is God through perhaps a pastor, a preacher saying, this is what God is declaring for us to do, to be faithful during difficult times. And so Jesus is giving a prophecy. And now, as a quick aside, always, how do we prove the Bible is true? How can we convince non-Christians or maybe your kids or your grandkids, right? Like, how can I make them believe that Jesus is who he says he is? And one of the big ways is the Bible is full of prophecy. God speaking about future events before they take place, and they are fulfilled. And in contrast to, let's say, the Book of Mormon, which is filled with tons of false prophecies, in the Bible, these are true prophecies, and this is one of those, that the temple would be destroyed. Now, this is a shocking thing. It's incredible. It would be like if I were to say, I'm not making a prophecy, but that, the United States will not be here tomorrow, right? Illustration, that's a picture of Jerusalem. On this side, you see that kind of rectangular shape. That's the temple structure. And then on the bottom is a picture of the temple. So Jesus has left to the Mount of Olives. He's headed out east, right, like leaving the city. And his disciples come to him and tell us, when will these things be? So what were the questions? We talked about it last time. Question number 1. When will the destruction of Jerusalem take place? That's the first question they're asking. You're saying not only that you're saying this temple, and not only this temple, but the city and the nation as a whole will be defeated. When is this going to take place? And number 2, what will be the sign when this is about to be accomplished? Luke and Mark do, and it's very similar. Matthew chapter 24, verse 3. Matthew chapter 24, verse 3. His questions are, when is this going to take place? When is the sign of your coming and of the end of the age? Right? So just interesting to note there. Matthew kind of sees this as Jesus speaking about not just the destruction of the temple, but seemingly the end of the age, the closing of the chapter. When will all this take place? Again, how we answer these two questions kind of depends on how we understand what's going on here. Is this talking about something that was going to take place in the disciples' future and our past, right? So the destruction of Jerusalem and it take place again. Depending on your understanding of what Jesus is talking about, that'll kind of shade how you interpret this. Again, my gut reaction, my initial thoughts is that this is describing what is going to take place primarily in the disciples' future. Something that the disciples, Peter, James, John, and Andrew, have yet to experience but are going to experience. And for us, we're looking back on what took place for them. If you want to hedge your bets, maybe do the last one, right? And just, near future, far future, something that took place in AD 70 and something that's going to take place in 2900 AD. Like, that would be